Kinda mid if I'm being honest with you. But on the other hand, here's a lovely mountain.
Wow.
It's Mont Blanc, which is French for mountain of joy, probably, because the higher you climb, the more joyful you are. So the bottom here is equivalent of falling off and snapping your spine in half. Or rather, things I strongly dislike, such as Bobby Kotick, for example, or genocide. Going further up, we have some of my favorite games, such as V, Rising, and World of Warcraft before Blizz completely fucked it up. Slightly higher around the mid of the mountain, we find Diablo 4 Season 6. But it doesn't have to be here. It could be way higher, at the peak along with titties and making German guy memes. And that's why I'm making this video to roast the shit out of Season 6 and make it real good. And starting off, we're going to talk about the most dog shit of new systems in the game, because this is absolute trash and needs changing. And it's the itemization changes. So here's the backstory. Season 4, itemization, decent. Season 5, good. Season 6, shit. And why is that? Well, from previously being able to fully temper and masterwork our lovely legendaries we found, we're now only able to do it on ancestral items. Hey, but Mr. Paragaming, didn't Blizz just make it so that you always get ancestral items in World Tier 4? Oh, my sweet summer dad boomer hemorrhoid-infested gamer. They did indeed. And now they fucked it up and made ancestral items so goddamn rare that my credit card is throbbing with excitement. On the flip side, though, ancestral items are always getting the greater affix treatment. But who cares? Because this is what's going to happen. Legendaries are now the new rare item. They're shit, and they are only here to clutter your screen. Imagine a dogshit newbie finally finding some ancestral items full of joy and then bricking it. Yeah, great fun. You will only use the regular legendaries as you're leveling up, and other than that, they're just salvaging material. Is this fun? With a laugh track, sure, but we can't put that in every part of the game Blizz fucks up. This is so unbelievably stupid, it made my head hurt. So what's the solution then? Well, it's rather simple. Revert it. Just let us temper and masterwork all legendaries. The ancestral items are good in themselves, as they're both higher item level and has a confirmed greater affix on it. No need to make the gap even larger. Thank you. Next up, we have yet another brain fart. That being the Paragons and the stat squish that inevitably failed as a result of it. Are you not following? No problem, let me explain. In Season 6, we're getting a massive stat squish, meaning that all numbers are reduced at least tenfold. Health, armor, etc. But the damage has at the same time increased. There are several reasons for this. For example, it's insanely easy to get main stat, and the main stat you're gaining for some reason grants double the damage now. Perhaps a bug, which is fine as it's fixable, but what is not fine are the Paragons. For reference, here's a screenshot of a buddy making a druid planner. 8,000 willpower, yeah, makes sense. And what has changed here? Well, for starters, you're now able to get roughly 100 more Paragon points depending on how much you low-life the game. Now you're probably like, cool. This means we're getting closer to Path of Exile passive tree and increased build variety, right? Yeah, no. We're now getting a cap of 5 boards LMAO. And with more Paragon points, it basically means that you're just completely filling up the 5 boards you have for 0 build variety. Not exactly what we were requesting from Diablo 4, is it? So why did this happen? Well, here it gets real interesting, because as I mentioned, the stat squish massively failed. And that has a lot to do with how insanely broken the new glyphs are. Not only are you getting the regular glyph bonus, but you're gaining an additional 20 to 40% increased damage as it becomes a legendary glyph on top of receiving a larger radius. And now, I ask you, my beautiful viewer, what do you think would have happened if we were not getting a cap of 5 boards with these new changes? Pause and think about it. Yes, Mr. German Guy, and the rest of my friends, that is indeed correct. Probably. Here are my thoughts. 1. The stat squish would fail even harder. Some builds would triple or quadruple their damage. 2. The build variety would get screwed over even more. Why? With 100 additional points, you would be able to grab all boards, and the builds that can utilize a larger amount of legendary nodes, for example, non-physical rogue builds compared to physical, would automatically deal double the damage. 3rd, maxing out your Paragon points is estimated to take over 100 hours for the average newbie dad gamers, meaning there's not a chance in hell any casual gamers would be able to reach difficult content unless made easy. There are probably more, but I'm 12 beers in and can't think of more currently. In any way, let's just say Blizz are currently so hard stuck at 5 boards that not even Stepdad can pull them out. And solution? Well, honestly, just hard gut all the legendary glyph bonuses. I don't understand why we are getting this massive of a damage bonus just from mindlessly grinding the pit. Now I also have a few more complaints about the Paragons, because being honest here, they were the only change in Season 6 that actually hard disappointed me. For starters, the legendary bonuses are boring. It's just a flat damage increase. Sure, it gives us a reason to grind the game, but in an ARPG, most people are excited about achieving and collecting great gear, not convoluted systems. The main focus should always be on the gear. It's also problematic, seeing as all of these bonuses are multiplicative and incredibly difficult to control from a balanced standpoint. Secondly, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at now in the Paragons. There are weird-looking squares around the nodes, making it difficult to see what the hell is going on. And third, this is a great point from the bald hoodie man, but when you manage to upgrade your glyphs to legendary, nothing happens. No animation and no birthday celebration, just a color change. Fun. Oh, and we still can't sort or search for glyphs. I've purposely only been leveling up the least amount of glyphs possible all the way since Season 0, because ICBA going through every fucking glyph in my inventory finding what I need. Okay, so these two factors are what I believe are the most important currently to make the game great. Let's go through and rapid fire some things that I don't give as much of a shit of, but still sucks a hairy ballsack. For starters, everything you collect each season. All the gear and Ubers is complete dogshit the second a new season drops. This has been happening since the new itemization changes came about. Every item goes to Legacy, and for some reason, Blizz is unable to correctly update the items. For example, in Season 5, the Uber aspects got updated, but the stats was not able to get updated. This means that each time a new season drops, all the eternal gamers get screwed over. Why is it so difficult to correctly update the items? Imagine being a dad gamer with 9 jobs and 28,000 children having their new Uber unique taken away from them at the start of a new season. Poor daddies. The new runewords are, well, a bit of a joke. They are currently in a weird spot where they're only utilized for the damage, and every build is running Petrify and Warcry. And what's the solution here? Well, I don't think that runewords that just flat-out boosts everyone's damage should even exist. For them to be interesting, there has to exist a choice. There is one choice currently, I guess, and that's do more damage or simply do less, as these runes are competing with main stat gems. But if the choice was between main stat games and an utility or damage reduction runeword, then there exists an actual choice. I reckon the 2 strongest runewords are getting gutted after the PTR though, so we may actually have to utilize our brain then. Next, we have no search function for tempering manuals, yikers, and giga yikers in Season 6 considering we're getting a gazillion new tempering manuals, and the enchanting guy. Holy smokes, do I want to dropkick this guy in the balls. I hate him. Having a massive RNG tied to pressing a button and hoping for the best reminds me of something else. Anyways, why is this guy still atrocious to use? The solution is there, and we've already done it in the tempering manuals. Simply grab a few different categories, and you're done. Take the amulet, for example, one for skill ranks, one for defensives, and one for offensives. No waiting, and you're done. 10 to a maximum of 20 or so re-rolls to get a good roll instead of 300 should be fair. If the system was actually interesting, then sure, it could be tied to more RNG, but as it currently stands, it just feels awful to use, and has always felt awful. Just looking at this guy makes me want to punch a hole in my monitor. So let's take a rant break and go through some good changes, shall we? Ultimates now being useful other than for utility, a great change. And in case you're new, you can now gather more skill points into ultimates, for example, via Shaco. This means a reduced cooldown, and taking a rogue as an example, the ultimate is spammable. I think this is great fun and ups the build variety massively. I would go one step further though for some classes, and why is that? Well, rogues has exposure and they have preparation, granting them an easy way of resetting the ultimate. Barb has the shouts, which is decent enough. Cringelord can reset the blood wave, and so forth. But if we came to a point in which all classes and ultimates could be resettable and useful, then I would be one happy man or woman. Next up is the progression. This is a double-edged sword because how fun it was leveling up in Season 6. Contrary to the bald hoodie man and some of the other pumpers out there, I think that the progression is in an excellent spot. We have 4 leveling tiers and 4 endgame tiers. As long as you're not playing the absolute best build in the game, steamrolling all content, then you're going to have a great time. But there are 2 problems here. First, we can't choose all tiers. Why? Stop cucking us, Blizz. If I want to jump into Penitent at level 1 and get bumfucked by demons, then let me. I remember back during my D, 3 times me and my buddies used to hop into hardcore and the hardest difficulty allowed. The one to die first got a massive cucumber shoved down their throat. And that's probably why you're seeing Wodijo eat a cucumber in all of his streams. Without difficulty, he would have been severely dehydrated. Difficulty saves lives. And also, leveling feels real good right now. There are so many things to do. Strongholds, nightmare dungeons, hell tides, infernal hordes. You're getting loot, leveling up and having a great time. For like 2 hours, because then you're done. I'd understand making leveling quick in Season 0 when it sucked balls, and you ran the same dungeon for 80 hours. But now it's just way too fast, man. Slow me down, I want to enjoy the ride. Especially in Season 6, when I have the campaign and a new zone to explore. You can then boost the experience each season, as people are getting sick of leveling. It's also the only time in the game in which I'm actually playing with my buddies, as they're dogshit newbies, and once the leveling is complete, they're off to World of Warcraft or whatever. On another note, some great pointers from the bald hoodie man, and that's the character creation screen. Lots of good changes here, more customization, etc. But it's been a few hours and I already miss my campfire. It's iconic. Imagine calling the campfire dev chat bald fatwood chopper chat. It just doesn't add up. For another good thing, the PTR testing environment was great. We got pretty much everything we needed with one exception: ancestral items. But that's also when I found out about how dogshit the itemization changes were, because it was impossible to get some ancestral items to temper and masterwork, especially uniques. I sat for hours at the Obol guy, trying to get some ancestrals, crying, questioning my life choices. The quality of life updates are also goated as fuck, but has a few minor issues. For starters though, one without issues is that you're now able to favorite a town. Nice. You get more inventory spaces. Funnily enough though, I don't think that this is going to be enough, because now we have runewords taking up the entire space, and we're also going to get screwed by all the infernal horde compasses in Season 6 which didn't exist on the PTR. Solution? Well, just let us salvage them and get full material refund. Easy peasy, and a huge quality of life update. The legendary runes could then be the only part that are not salvageable, as they're both rare and will be an interesting item to trade. Now, to finalize this epic video, I have a few requests for the future of D4 that would simply make the game way better. You've heard some of these before, and some are in fact coming, but we're not sure when. So let's rapid fire that shit. An armory. We are going to have 6 or so different endgame options in Season 6, a lot of them requiring different builds and gear. Having an armory is now a must, as to not spend half or our time gaming resetting our paragons. A loot filter, especially if we're going to keep the fact that 99% of gear that is non-ancestral gear is going to be trash. I'm getting angry just thinking about all the gear that I'll have to salvage. An API for importing our builds and gear. What do I mean by that? Well, in Last Epoch, for example, you're allowed to just copy over your entire character to the max roll or Last Epoch Tools Planner. You can then chill in the planner, look for different upgrades that you can use and optimize your gear. It would also save me a lot of time making builds El Mao. Stop listening to brain-dead people as you're making balance changes. The most prevalent being the changes to barbarian. The entire class is just god-awful now.
You serious?
In Season 5, and it's looking to be the same heading into Season 6. And for anyone saying that it's not, the class is literally 10 to 20 pit tiers below the other classes, so one more word from you and I'm bringing forth the cucumber. So what is the solution? Well, why not just add a leaderboard for the pit? You then see what is overtuned and can make changes accordingly. I'm sure Blizz has some internal way of looking this up, but without having any meaningful feedback from the player base, as we have no clue what the hell is going on. The best we currently have is the D4 Pit website, and the people linking videos in the German guy's chat. And hey, if we're not getting a leaderboard, how about not listening to the 2 brain cell incels on Reddit and rather show that you're actively taking feedback from the likes of the German guy for Barb and Lurkin for Sork, as an example. We need some solid feedback system in place because the Season 5 changes to Barb was the dumbest thing I've seen in a long time. I also believe that there is going to be some comments requesting an auction house. But I also want to give another viewpoint here. Currently, trading is a bit of a hassle. And when I've made videos in trading guides, the majority of people are just simply not trading. So, is that a good or bad thing? Well, I'd say it's mainly a good thing, because trading is not gameplay. Sure, it grants you a purpose for all the items you don't need, but for the casual dad gamers that just want to blast shit, for them it's an extremely mid-feature. I think that trading is in a decent spot right now. We have Crimson Market evolving, now allowing you to list items within the game, for example, but it requires effort, so most people are not doing it. And that's fine. Because once you're stuck playing the auction house, the game turns to shit. I've done it in other games, and my sanity took a toll. But on the other hand, though, you could say that you're just restricting the player base. So either way, I don't really give a shit what they do here. Alright folks, that's all for this one. There are a buttload of additional changes coming in Season 6, but I don't really care about them enough to cover. I'm going to end this video on a light note, however, because else I'll never get invited by Blizz to their events. Season 6 is going to be a whole lot of fun. If anything is to be prioritized, then remove the ancestral item temper and masterworking changes. It's going to ruin the game. Thank you, and see you in the next one.